He wasn't just built for football, he was forged by circumstance.
With the sixth pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Julio Jones.
He'll sleep well tonight because Julio Jones is beating him to death out there.
They don't make guys like him that are that big, that strong, that fast.
Raised in the hard edges of Foley, Alabama, Julio Jones wasn't trying to be great because it sounded nice. He was trying to survive. And if fate hadn't stepped in at the right moment, we might have never seen the legend at wide receiver. He started as a running back, punishing defenders, running angry, until a new coach moved him to wideout. That one decision changed everything. From the sun-baked streets of Foley, to game-breaking catches at Alabama, to becoming one of the most feared receivers the NFL has ever seen.
40, Jones 50, Julio 20, 10, 5, touchdown.
Just how good was Julio Jones actually? He was born Quintoris Lopez Jones in Foley, Alabama in 1989. He wasn't supposed to be a boy. The reason I gave him Quintoris is because they told me he was going to be a girl. He wasn't a girl and my name is Queen, so I gave him Quintoris, his mother later explained. The name itself derived from Quintus, meaning fifth, and often interpreted as gladiator, felt like a prophecy. And that's when the story takes a turn. You might expect there to be some deeper, elaborate meaning behind the nickname everybody knows him as, Julio. A family name, a childhood story, something symbolic. But nope. In 7th grade, out of nowhere, his mom just started calling him Julio. No one's quite sure why. It didn't reference anything. It didn't explain anything. It just stuck. And from that day on, Quintoris became Julio. Julio wasn't born into privilege. His father walked out on him when he was just 5, leaving Queen to raise him and his older brother alone. In a town where violence often overshadowed opportunity, his mom worked double shifts at Church's Kitchen and KFC and sometimes walked to work just to provide for her boys. But how much had his mom shaped his life? Julio remarked, "She was strict, but she was just trying to teach me right from wrong. In the neighborhood I came from, there was a lot of violence and people selling dope. She just tried to keep me straight and keep me level-headed." From the jump, he was different. Quiet, laser-focused. And as early as 3rd grade, he made a declaration to his teacher, "I'm going to be in the NFL or the NBA." By the time he was 11, his youth coaches were baffled. He was bigger, faster, and stronger than any other kid. And it wasn't close. Some defenders were afraid to tackle him. He'd score and walk back like it was routine, because for Julio, dominance was normal. He wasn't a talker, he didn't show off, he just did the work, even then. Julio Jones at 11 years old. "I thought I could start for Foley High School then," recalls his youth coach Clifford Cluck. He was one of those kids who was so gifted as an athlete, with speed and balance and power. Julio arrived at Foley High School as a running back, a bruising, punishing ball carrier who looked like a man among boys. That's where he made his name, stiff-arming kids, lowering his shoulder, and leaving defenders gasping for air. But everything changed in 2005 when Todd Watson, a new head coach, took over the program. Watson took one look at Julio's rare combination of size and speed and made a bold decision. He moved him to wide receiver and redesigned Foley's traditional wing T offense to the spread to highlight Julio's talents. The move unlocked a different kind of dominance and introduced the world to a generational talent on the perimeter. Watson still recalls Julio working out in the weight room. When you really knew you had something special was when you'd see him work in the weight room. He loved to work out. As a junior, he exploded. 75 catches, over 1,300 yards, and 16 touchdowns. And as a senior, he backed it up with 68 receptions, 1,181 yards, and 16 touchdowns, dominating every cornerback in sight. He was also a standout on defense and special teams. His efforts didn't go unnoticed. Julio was named All-State not once, but twice. He earned a spot on the prestigious Parade All-American team and was voted Alabama's Mr. Football, the top high school player in the state. By the end of his senior year, he wasn't just a local legend. He was the #1 wideout recruit in the nation. And his athleticism didn't stop on the football field. Julio won state titles in long jump, triple jump, and high jump, and even competed in sprint events, making him one of the most complete athletes in the nation. By the time his senior year wrapped up, the once shy kid from Foley had become a national obsession. Julio wasn't built for the spotlight, he didn't crave it, and he rarely even smiled during interviews. He was quiet, humble, and sometimes overwhelmed by the attention. But that didn't stop the recruiters. LSU, Florida, Oklahoma, USC, every powerhouse program in the country was knocking on his door. He could have gone anywhere, but when it came time to choose, Julio stayed close to home. Not only for convenience, but for loyalty. He wanted his mom to be able to see him play. And when Alabama's Nick Saban sat in his living room, he didn't sell dreams, he sold a plan. Julio committed on signing day with two simple words: Roll Tide. Julio Jones arrived in Tuscaloosa with impossible expectations, but from day one he looked like he belonged. As a true freshman in 2008, Julio didn't just contribute. He led the team in receiving with 58 catches for 924 yards and 4 touchdowns, becoming the first freshman wideout to do so under Nick Saban. His blend of speed, strength, and ball skills made him nearly unguardable, and by the season's end, he was already talked about as a future first-round pick. On the field and off, Julio showed a sort of preternatural calm, moving like the game was in slow motion. Physically gifted, mentally poised. But his time at Alabama wasn't without hardship. In 2009, Julio battled through nagging injuries, including a bruised kneecap issue that limited his explosiveness early in the season. His production dipped, just 43 catches for 596 yards and 4 touchdowns. But his value never did. Saban kept him on the field, just not for his receiving ability, but for his blocking, toughness, and presence. Julio gutted the pain, played through coverage schemes built solely to slow him down, and helped Alabama win its first national title under Saban. Then came 2010, his junior year. Finally healthy. Julio exploded for 78 catches, 1,133 yards, and 7 touchdowns, all school records at the time. In one game against Tennessee, he broke the school's single-game receiving record with 221 yards, despite playing with a fractured hand that required surgery just weeks earlier. He had metal plates and screws in his hand and still couldn't be stopped. Nick Saban later said, "He's one of the most driven competitors I've ever coached. He set the tone every single day." Whether it was SEC corners or elite defenses, Julio didn't flinch. He went across the middle, took hits, and made highlight plays look routine. He didn't complain about targets or stats. He just showed up and dominated in every phase of the game. As the 2010 season closed, Julio Jones wasn't just Alabama's star. He was one of the most anticipated prospects in the entire NFL draft. Scouts flocked to Tuscaloosa to see the rare athlete who combined a 6'3" frame with blazing speed and soft hands. But with that attention came scrutiny. Would his previous injuries, including that fractured hand, hold him back? Could he handle the pressure and expectations at the next level?
He did have a foot injury. They found out at the combine. He's had surgery, but they expect him to be 100% ready to go as a rookie. But he's inconsistent catching the ball, and he's had a lot of durability issues. And you've given up now your 2nd and 4th round pick this year and your 1st and 4th round pick next year to get a wide receiver.
Julio didn't just wait for answers, he chased them. At the NFL Combine, he stunned scouts with his blazing 4.39-second 40-yard dash, explosive vertical jump, and precise route running drills. Every workout was a showcase of his elite athleticism and relentless drive. His interviews revealed a humble competitor, focused on team success but burning with personal ambition. Teams circled. Some loved his size-speed combination. Others worried about his injury history and asked tough questions about his work ethic and leadership. Julio remained calm. He knew that the draft would test more than his athletic skill. It would test his patience and resolve. Experts and analysts debated endlessly. Would he be a top 5 pick? Could he slip out of the top 10? Or would a team trade up to grab the once-in-a-generation talent? For Julio, the uncertainty was just fuel. One thing was clear. Wherever he landed, his NFL journey was about to begin. And the question on everyone's lips was this: Which franchise would bet on the kid from Foley to become the next great NFL wide receiver?
Is about to make all of this official.
The Cleveland Browns have traded the 6th pick to the Atlanta Falcons. With the 6th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Julio Jones, wide receiver, Alabama.
You're making a statement. Great job by Dom Heckert in Cleveland, compiling draft picks. Mooch, you look like you're all nervous over there.
I love this guy. I love the physicality of a receiver like him. What a great compliment.
They gave up 5 draft picks to get him. That kind of move wasn't just about talent, it was belief. And Julio rewarded that belief immediately. He didn't ease into the NFL, he stormed it like a meteor. As a rookie, he torched defenses for 959 yards and 8 touchdowns, blending speed, strength, and body control in a way that defenders couldn't handle. By year 2, he was already over 1,000 yards, and by 2014, he left no doubt, dropping 104 receptions and 1,593 yards on the league like it was nothing. He wasn't just a freak athlete anymore, he was becoming something scarier. A technician, a matchup nightmare, a complete wide receiver. But the NFL wasn't just triumphs, it came with pain. Julio Jones played like he was made in a lab. 6'3", 220, with 4.3 speed and vice grip hands. But beneath the highlight plays and Pro Bowl starts was a body that was constantly at war with itself. Turf toe, hamstring strains, a broken foot that required surgery before he even played an NFL snap.
Bumps in the road.
Yeah, more so this year. It's just small things that it's kind of like nagging, like where I can't really be who I am. Like getting guys off me, shoulders, and just a lot of little things.
It never seemed to end, and yet he kept showing up. In 2015, his 5th season, he delivered one of the most dominant campaigns in NFL history. 136 receptions, 1,871 yards, 8 touchdowns. Second most receiving yards ever in a single season, behind only Calvin Johnson. And he made it look easy. 40-yard slants where no one could catch him, sideline grabs that defied physics. Defensive coordinators designed entire game plans around him, and that still wasn't enough. Teammates said he barely spoke in the locker room. He didn't care for the spotlight or stat chasing. He showed up early, trained harder than anyone else, and left quietly. He let his game speak for him, and the message was loud. But for all the individual brilliance, there was one thing missing: a championship. Then came 2016. Julio was at the height of his powers. He posted another 1,400-yard season, routinely cooked elite corners, and was the centerpiece of an offense that felt unstoppable. Matt Ryan won MVP. The Falcons averaged nearly 34 points per game. And when the playoffs hit, Julio ascended to another level. In the NFC Championship, he annihilated the Packers. 9 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a stiff arm so violent it looked like something from Madden. He was simply unguardable. The Falcons were headed to Super Bowl 51, and Julio Jones was finally getting his moment on the biggest stage in football. And when the game began, it looked like destiny. Atlanta jumped out to a 28-3 lead against the New England Patriots. Everything clicked. Ryan was surgical, the defense was flying, and Julio? He made one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history. A toe-dragging, full extension, sideline masterpiece with under 5 minutes to play. A catch that should have sealed Atlanta's first championship. But it didn't. Instead of closing it out, the Falcons unraveled. A sack.
Ryan is sacked. What a play.
A penalty.
Number 70 offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
A missed opportunity. And then the comeback was complete.
Flag is down. Amendola's in.
The Patriots tied the game, won the coin toss. Tom Brady completed the comeback.
Elected to receive at this end of the field.
And the Falcons lost 34-28 in the greatest collapse in Super Bowl history.
Another look to make sure. James White driving.
Julio had done everything. 87 yards, that impossible catch, constant double teams, and it still wasn't enough. He sat on the sideline motionless, no tears, just silence. And from that moment forward, something changed. He would never get closer to a ring than that night. After 2016, Julio continued to put up numbers that would make any receiver jealous. 1,444 yards in 2017, 1,677 yards in 2018, 1,394 in 2019. Even as the Falcons declined, he never stopped producing, never stopped battling. But behind the scenes, his body was breaking down. The foot, the hamstring, the ankle, the shoulder. Every season came with new injuries, new injections, new rehab schedules, but he refused to quit. In 2020, the injuries finally won. Julio missed 7 games, managed just 771 yards, and saw the writing on the wall. The Falcons were rebuilding. His window was closing. He asked for a trade, not out of ego, but for a chance to chase that ring again. Atlanta sent him to Tennessee, where he joined Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown in a loaded offense. But it wasn't the same. Julio was older, slower, less explosive. His hamstring nagged him all season. He played in just 10 games and scored 1 touchdown. Then came a final shot in Tampa Bay alongside Tom Brady. But the magic never returned. The legs weren't there. The separation was gone, and the pain that never left. Julio Jones never got his ring. He never gave speeches or drew headlines for antics. He didn't need to, he just dominated. Over 13 seasons, he caught 903 passes for 13,629 yards, more than Hall of Famers like Michael Irvin, Raymond Berry, and even Steve Largent. He had more games with 250-plus receiving yards than any other player in NFL history. He led the league in receiving twice, made 7 Pro Bowls, and was named to the 2010's All-Decade team. Ask any cornerback who ever lined up across from him, and they'll all say the same thing. Julio was different.
His ability to get the ball, to stretch the field, and there's nobody like him. And Matt Ryan, it's almost impossible.
He was a quiet storm, a relentless worker, a wide receiver who never needed drama to prove he was the best. He did it through toughness, silence, and the grind. From the dirt of Foley to the lights of the NFL, Julio Jones lived up to every ounce of hype. And though he never won the Super Bowl, he walked away with something even rarer: respect.
I'm making this announcement today because of the city of Atlanta. Thank you, man. I appreciate y'all. It's nothing but love. I'm doing this on 404 Day. It was a hell of a ride. I also want to thank the other ball clubs out there as well, organizations. Tennessee, thank you for the opportunity. Tampa, thank you for the opportunity. Eagles, thank you for the opportunity. But this one for the city, man. I appreciate y'all.
After stepping away from football, Julio Jones didn't chase the spotlight. He returned to what matters most: family, peace, and purpose. He spent time back in Foley, visiting the high school fields that birthed his legend. He made quiet contributions to his hometown and supported youth athletics across Alabama. Friends say he never forgot where he came from. Julio has hinted at coaching someday, maybe even mentoring the next generation of wideouts. But for now, he's enjoying the calm, far from the roars of NFL stadiums. And yes, he did what he always promised. He took care of his mother. Early in his career, Julio bought her a house and retired her from work. He never needed applause to validate him. He just needed the game. And when it was time, he walked away on his own terms. If you enjoyed this story, stick with Primetime, subscribe, and check out some of the other content right here.